Greetings, YouTube. Greetings, everyone. And please welcome my guests, Ujames.
Hello there, this is James S. Crockett, Ujames 1978.
Yes, it's that James, in case you were confused. And joining us once again, Ian.
Hello there, YouTube.
Right. Now, actually, James, shall I mention? Do you want to mention the tangent jar now?
Yes, in the two podcasts in which you have appeared discussing new Doctor Who, Ian, you and Alex combined have spent roughly 5 minutes of the 45-minute podcast discussing the actual episode. So, in order to help keep us on track, this is now the tangent jar. Every time you go off on a tangent about Brian Blessed punching polar bears or role-playing games or anything that is not specifically Who related, I will allow some leeway. But every time you go off on a massive tangent and we have to bring you back, you donate £1 to UNICEF or Save the Children.
Okay.
Right, okay, well, we've all just watched Flatline, so I'll just put my 2 cents in there and say it was different, it was imaginative. I felt that there was a real sense of tension and jeopardy. I loved Clara in this episode. Downsides would be the usual for this season. Although I loved Clara in this episode, there's still some relationship-y bollocks going on, but not nearly as much as last week. Although the phone call from Danny, like, you're gonna natter with your boyfriend and worry about whether you're telling him the truth, yada yada yada, when you are in mortal danger. The characters forming close bonds very quickly, but I suppose you do in Pressure. And so, on the whole, I mean, I generally find you get better stories in the latter half of a season of Doctor Who. And I think we're seeing that last week and this week. And I love kind of high concept stuff, and that's what this was. This was a strong, high concept. I can't remember, I think, actually, is it written by the same person who wrote last week's? I think it is. Either way, there's some Moffat scribbling on the script before it actually goes to shoot. So if we can, like, cut the 5 minutes that were written by Stephen Moffat out of our brains, this was really pretty good. Maybe not quite 10 out of 10, but definitely in the higher, maybe a 6, 7, possibly even an 8. And it was good to see Doctor Who do something really different. Yes, so I tell you what, I'll go alphabetically and put Ian before James. So, Ian, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I can agree that it was definitely different. I mean, I can't think of a science fiction show or anything that's done 2 dimensions as a dimension.
Okay.
And the Doctor himself finds it utterly insane, which is incredible.
When we get to James, he's going to point out that the Next Generation did something a bit similar. But sorry, continue.
Oh, well, I hadn't seen that, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, it does seem like not necessarily maybe if not original idea, but something. Certainly, they're thinking outside of the usual Doctor Who box. This isn't just let's shoehorn a Dalek into the episode just to annoy James, or let's avoid using a villain we've already established operates in exactly the same way, just as we had with the thing that should have been a Raston Warrior robot a few weeks ago. But yeah, it certainly was going over new ground, and the only real criticism I have is when they started to move into 3D. The creature started to move into 3D and taking on the images of the things of the people it's killed. They did look a lot like zombies again. The shamble, the distortion.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see how it was kind of unavoidable, but yeah, it did. It did sound like the guy was. Well, it did look like the guy was writing another zombie story to an extent.
Yes, yes. I do see your point there. I think I kind of knew about halfway through the episode that it would be something that, once it's revealed, it won't be so good. I think something like this, as you're discovering it, that it's enjoyable. So the first half's normally better than the second. Yeah.
Also, wasn't there a Hartnell era story that had it had the shrinking TARDIS?
Yes, actually it happened twice in the classic series. There's a Hartnell story where they're all shrunk down to an inch because of the TARDIS's dimensions screwing up. So they're, the Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Susan are, less than an inch tall for the whole 3-episode serial. And if you remember in the Tom Baker era, the Master shrank people.
Oh, the tissue compression eliminator, yes.
Yeah, and there's a foot-tall TARDIS in Tom Baker's final story, Legopolis.
Oh, right.
With the Doctor inside, in fact. So yes, there are two precedents that spring to mind.
Yeah, the tissue compression eliminator, I thought, wasn't necessarily a dimensional thing. It was more a sort of, let's take the vague idea of something that was coming up in theoretical physics at the time and make it into a utterly insane weapon that allows us to put Action Man figures and say they're corpses of...
Yeah.
I'll never forget the scene opening the lunchbox, and there he is next to the boiled egg.
Yeah. On that occasion, they actually did some kind of
That's what I was specifically referring to. It wasn't an actual Action Man figure. They did use green screen or whatever the term is.
The dolls they used in The Deadly Assassin and, of course, Legopolis. Because poor Aunt Lavinia gets shrunk. And that's so obviously a doll, but yeah. Just say you're turning people into dolls. Just
would have made sense with the first Master story as well, because he was teamed up with the Autons. So,
if only they'd thought about maybe something like bringing the Celestial Toymaker back instead of the Master every godforsaken week, then turning people into dolls.
Oh yeah. See, all the ideas they didn't do.
Yeah.
Damn it. But these days, they make such good action figures with like pretty good faces that if you shrink a character in Doctor Who and you use one from like the local science fiction shop, it wouldn't actually be that bad. James, let the bashing begin. Come on, tell us how much you hated this episode and why.
The actual concept, the two-dimensional creatures trying to understand and come into the three-dimensional universe. Oh yes, solid, pure 24-carat science fiction gold. Absolutely loved it. The fact that I was the only person, I think, to notice that it wasn't a mural of the desert, it was a blow-up, a two-dimensional blow-up of human skin, and that, yes, it was P.C. Forrester's nervous system, or whatever the poor that they were trying to study. But, same as last week, Mummy on the Orient Express, how I loathe that. I spat it as if it were rancid poison. But both last week and this week, props to the writer of both episodes for spectacular concepts, the execution for the love of the great holy donkey. Let's start this week with the fact that about halfway through, when they've started running for their lives, the Doctor raises the possibility. These are two-dimensional creatures. They have no understanding of our universe. Do they even know that they are killing us? Do they understand what they are doing, that we cannot exist in their dimension when they take us in there to dissect us? When he tries to communicate with them, I honestly thought that it was going to be a misunderstanding, but then at the end he declares them to be monsters. Excuse me, we haven't had enough time. What? We don't know what these creatures are trying to do. Okay, it's scary that they're chasing you, but maybe they're just trying to communicate with you. It looks scary to us, but we don't know what their perceptions are. We don't know why they're trying to draw us into their universe. Maybe they were trying to resemble us so that we would be more willing to communicate with them or what have you. But no. It's zombies who shoot lightning out of their hands. So obviously they're monsters and they're not welcome here anymore. Okay.
Might be a follow-up where the Doctor turns out to be wrong. And that was funny because what?
I think James is thinking of Starship Troopers 2, where they suddenly reveal that the bugs are good guys after all.
No, it wasn't that. I haven't seen Starship Troopers 2. But, yes, Moffat, here's an idea for an actual concept which... you want to bring back the same monsters for a different episode when they're not the Silence or the Weeping Angel, and actually show that just the idea of the Moffat Doctor Who in general, not see Moffat doing anything but no, the Doctor has decreed and declared that they're the bad guys. Well, the episode has that, which brings us to the next point. I think Stuart Hardy, He Who Moans, describes it as 45-minute syndrome. There was just too much, again, this week, last week especially, cutting out all of the exposition, which would have made the quote-unquote mummy, let's just call it a zombie, make sense, in order to cram in more Clara relationship rubbish. There was... as you say, there wasn't anywhere near as much of that this week. But if this was again, same with last week, same with this week. If it was a serial, if it was a two-parter, it would have scored much higher in my estimation. And then the contrivances. Why is this house which is not part of the estate? This is the place where someone quote-unquote important was attacked. Why do they have a 1970s style hanging chair in the middle of the room? Because the creatures are in the wall and the floor, and oops, they're also in the ceiling. As you pointed out, Alex, why answer the phone in a life or death situation like that? Then there was the scene where the grumpy old person in charge of the community service group grabbed the TARDIS for no reason, so it was dropped onto the train tracks. The TARDIS was actually safe at that point. The contrivances. Reggie, or whatever his name was, the actual companion in this episode, he just happens to be able to drive a train. It's not like a moped. You don't.
I know. I've tried on a simulator. I've tried. It is very tricky.
Yeah, you can't just expect a kid who's obviously too young to have trained as a train driver and never actually mentioned it to just hop on board and set going. And also, why in the name of the great holy donkey do you think that two-dimensional creatures, even if they are zombie form, would be killed by being quote-unquote flattened?
Well, you could put that down to the stress of the situation, not thinking straight again.
I think, no, considering that we're not talking about people in a real-life situation, we are talking about writers, producers, directors, actors deciding what will look good on television. They did it because it was a tense moment. Same as the giant hand which reaches out to grab one of the people on community service. There was no reason for that to exist. There was no reason for it to be there, except the fact that it looks cool. Yes, a train. Oh God, the driver even said, "Is this official? I have always wanted to ram something." And then let's get to the biggest bugbear of it. When he who moans, Stuart Hardy, he has gotten into the habit of giving each episode of Season 8 their true names. So, Time Heist is too much for 45 minutes. The Caretaker is that episode which had Craig, but without Craig in it. I can't remember the name of the episode. And so on and so forth. This episode would be, okay, Clara doesn't have her own character or personality, so let's just make her the Doctor for 45 minutes. Seriously, it just goes to this episode just went to show not how great Clara is, but how totally superfluous she is, because literally the only reason to lock the Doctor in the TARDIS for the episode and give her the psychic paper, she was the Doctor. That was it. Mm-hmm. And if Clara had just been having lunch with Danny on the park bench for the full episode, whilst the Doctor was sorting things out with...
That would have been funnier.
Yeah.
That would have been brilliant, because it would be like, there'd be sort of Danny and Clara having their sort of conversation off on the side somewhere, and the Doctor's running around with this guy trying to convince Clara that nothing strange is going on. That would have been brilliant.
Exactly. That is precisely the point I was getting at. If you are going to have your relationship rubbish Moffat, if you are so desperately determined to turn this into a sitcom/soap opera, then have it separate from the action. Let us have the actual science fiction. Whoever wrote this episode, as I say, hats off to him. But just as last week, I get the distinct impression that in his little montage about planets, when again Clara was trying to gush about, I don't trust you. Oh, am I a good man? Blah 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 blah. Are you a good man? Blah 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 blah. The Doctor, in some point when he was talking about the planet of perpetual darkness, etc., he would have talked about the two planets that were at war for millennia, developing ever more sophisticated weapons, etc., until one planet created the weapon which in turn created the black hole that destroyed the entire planetary cluster. And that would have been that would have been exposition explaining the quote-unquote mummy's existence. So...
Well, I mentioned with the Caretaker that the Caretaker would have been a lot better if they just made if it wasn't just that warrior robot. I just keep calling it the warrior robot because it should have been a Raston warrior robot. If absolutely everything that could go wrong was going wrong, that would have made it a fun episode, because basically there's a rootin in the closet, there's a confused looking Jadoon walking around the school, things like that.
But that is the overall point, though. This person, whoever he is, I want to first shake his hand for such great original science fiction, and then give him a hug and tell him that it's okay, Moffat will retire eventually, and then your visions will be able to shine. Because although the relationship rubbish was far less prominent. Moffat's red ink, as you say, Alex, and it wasn't just it wasn't just Clara answering the phone when she's in a life or death situation, that sort of thing. It wasn't just the relationship rubbish with, have you lied to me? Are you lying to Danny again? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you lied about him being okay with us travelling because he doesn't know what it's like. That brings me on to the overarching point. Back at the very, very beginning of Season 8, when Stuart Hardy, He Who Moans, did his sarcastic review of the 10-second long Season 8 trailer, "Am I a good man? I'm not sure if I trust you anymore." That is the entire theme of the series. That is the Doctor and Clara's character arc. This episode was... the actual true title of this episode should have been Walking a Mile in the Doctor's Shoes. Because this episode was Clara learning just how hard it is to be the Doctor. The whole line about, I have to lie to them and pretend that they're all going to survive. Yep, that's your job. And then at the end, the only really good, memorable line... It would have been good and memorable if it wasn't obviously preachy. Why can't you just tell me I was a good Doctor? You were an exceptional Doctor, Clara. Being good had nothing to do with it. That was very well done, but for the love of the great holy donkey, Moffat, we get the point. First we have the equivalent of a whole episode in Kill the Moon and that mummy episode with the Clara going, I don't hate you, Doctor, but I just can't do this anymore. Oh, should I stay? I'm not sure if I can trust you. Oh, you always lie to me, you patronise me, you use me. Oh, okay, I'm staying. What? And now you see how hard it is. Can we have a break? Oh, yes, and I think Moffat suddenly, at the very, very end of the script, remembered, oh, yes, that strange Mary Poppins lady from the first few episodes. Yes, I completely forgot about her. So let's just have her looking at Clara on her iPod and sounding incredibly creepy.
Yes, well, a reminder that we're drawing to a close, yes, everything's got to, was it 3 episodes left? Or 4. But In the Forest of the Night looks good.
It's Little Red Riding Hood.
I thought more Narnia type. That's the vibe I got from it. A sort of a Chronicles of Narnia
yes, because when the first time I saw it, the giant stone statue looked like the head of a wolf to me, but no, you're right, it's the head of a lion. But the fact that she is dressed in a little red coat, thank God.
Yeah. It should be a tiger. Tiger burning bright in the forest of the night.
Great.
Well, that's what the episode's called. I'm a big T.S. Eliot fan, so I'm looking forward to an episode called In the Forest of the Night.
Oh yes, did you hear my that episode with the zombie on the spaceship podcast?
Yes, I did. I left some comments on there.
In which I predicted that Moffat has basically cloned himself 3 times, and each one has a different... each of the clones has a different aspect of his writing personality. The first clone, the one who wrote Kill the Moon, got all of his everybody lives, we invented some fake tension.
Oh, yeah, I prefer Alex's theory.
No, we've been eating cake for the last 40
I prefer Alex's Caligula theory.
Yeah.
That is... Sorry.
Oh, that wasn't actually my own theory. I read that somewhere.
But there's,
yeah.
This guy has got all of Moffat. You know, this writer, following the clone theory, is the clone that got Moffat has got the parts of Moffat that wrote Blink. Has got the real high concept science fiction down pat. The next clone, unfortunately, my prediction is that he is going to have Moffat's complete inability to understand or write female or GSD characters. So it's going to have the worst, the most stereotypical the most stereotypical female villain since Servalan in Series 3 of Blake 7. For the love of the great holy donkey.
Okay, right. Well, I think we've pretty much got that covered, and we didn't need the tangent jar. So I'll just open up the floor if anyone wants to add anything else, or they thought of another topic, or...
I think I've covered it pretty well. I am regretting the fact that I said huzzah, because, a couple of tangents, a quick donation to UNICEF would have been welcome here.
Yes, okay, well then, I'll do final thoughts and goodbyes. Okay, well, look, I felt this episode. This episode, as I say, there was a sense of jeopardy, and it was a bit different. And I'm excited for the closing episodes of this season. So I think I'm in a good place, Doctor Who wise. Although I suppose no, I am. I think there's more to love right now than not to. And Ian, your final thought and goodbye.
Pretty much in agreement, but as I said, it was a little depressing to see some more basically attempting to do the sort of shamble from Thriller. Other than that, though, it was a very solid episode. The actual companion, as James calls him, was very good. And the Doctor's initial reaction, no, and then suddenly it's like, hang on, leave this guy, he's actually quite clever.
Fluorescent pudding brain, he called him. But no, yes. He's local knowledge. Local knowledge is getting away.
Also, there was one point in this episode where I saw a look on, I don't know whether she intended it, but look on Jenna Coleman's face that it was almost like Ace's creepy smile just before she was about to blow something up. If you remember that.
Oh, Ace, remember that Nitro 9 which you promised never to make again because it's just too dangerous. Yes, Professor? Give me some, will you?
Indeed. So I'm starting to wonder if this show is going to need a classic series jar. But anyway, right. So okay. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. So Ian, I'll let you finish your goodbye.
Yeah. As I said, that was a nice little touch. If it was intentional, I doubt it was intentional. It was just a coincidence or a weird connection I made in my head. And yeah, I think it really worked on the whole. Interesting to see where they go next.
Agreed.
Oh, and I think the idea of going back to that and having the Doctor being completely wrong would be awesome. I just want to put that out there.
It would be, but the reason I laughed, sorry, I just can't imagine anything like that happening under Moffat.
And yeah, that's me. That's goodbye, everyone. That's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. It's nice having you both on at the same time, and hope to have you back. And James, your final thought and goodbye.
The only criticisms that I really have about this episode are the criticisms of Season 8 and the Moffat era so far. No, no Moffat. It's a science fiction series. It's not a sitcom/soap opera. I think we can all agree now the idea that Danny and Courtney were going to join the TARDIS crew and so it would be a recasting of Ian, Susan, and Barbara. That's officially dead now. They're just going to drop in occasionally. It's the Doctor and Clara's dynamic. Am I a good man? I'm not sure if I trust you anymore. And that is the series arc as far as Moffat is concerned. It's not a sitcom. It's not a soap opera. Stop trying to force in your relationship rubbish. Now, 2 weeks running, first Frank Skinner, now the kid who was turned out talented artist, 2 far superior companions to Clara. But no, Clara still stays on the TARDIS while they go off to do whatever it was they were going to do. Oh, that was one little criticism I did have, yes, a black criminal again, but no, he was redeemed by the end of the episode. He's a talented artist and, as I say, a great companion. Why are you sticking with Clara?
He could be the new Craig, and they might drop in on him again.
You had to mention that name, didn't you? But
by the way, James Corden is the comedian who plays Craig, actor and comedian.
I'll put him on the list then, shall I? But
he was in such masterpieces as Lesbian Vampire Hunters.
The History Boys.
I've not actually seen that.
He's actually very good in that. Everybody is.
Yeah, basically, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Moffat's red ink all over this script and everything that Moffat is doing to basically kill Doctor Who, this would have been excellent. But as it is, I do think it is my favourite episode of the series so far. Well, but of course, that's not really saying much.
Just of season 8 or of New Doctor Who?
Of season 8.
Okay.
But yes, I think I've covered everything. I did mention the little point there. So just basically, Moffat, leave him alone. Whoever wrote this episode, leave him alone and let him do what he does best. Clara sitting on the park bench for the entire episode, just clips to her, have another companion. A great way to segue it's a great way to segue into the graffiti artist being the new companion full time. But no, we have to keep Clara because people love her. But
yes, I know Jamie Matheson is the name of the writer who wrote last week, and I'm sure I heard somebody say that it's the same writer.
Yes,
Jamie Matheson.
Jamie Matheson, I salute you, sir. What hell it must be writing under Moffat, seeing your finely crafted science fiction masterpieces being sitcommed and soap operaed so grotesquely. But
it's not as bad as the dating scenes in Listen, which were where it's like, am I watching couplings? But that actually was a Moffat episode. So anyway,
exactly, that's what I mean. You know, I can just imagine him. No, less Moffating this week, or I withdraw my scripts.
Yes, and a piece of trivia, just opening Facebook. This was the 250th episode of Doctor Who. I assume they're counting classic serials as episodes when they say that. So there have been 250 canonical TV Doctor Who stories. So there you are. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
If only Moffat would just stop trying to pretend that the series had to have a connected arc. Stop trying to pretend that. Stop using Danny like he did Rory to be the kind of the niggle of doubt and conscience in Clara/Amy's mind of, oh, I want to stay with the Doctor, but I have my own life back home and blah 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 blah. Oh, just stay or go, one or the other. But yes, as I say, no problems with the episode itself, especially the concept. I have seen a two-dimensional creature episode in Star Trek The Next Generation, but this was the first time I've ever seen anything like this. If it wasn't for the Moffatisms, it would have been 10 out of 10. But as it is, I am... Next week is the last of the episodes written by new writers. Then the season finale, I am less optimistic, shall we say.
Season finale, will everything tie together? Will everything pay off? And is Mary Poppins God? But, I mean, I was thinking... I might do a video...
Does Mary Poppins fancy Clara? Because of the way she was speaking.
Yes, Moffat's legendary capacity to start story arcs and then forget about them.
The Doctor used to be Clara's stalker, and now she's got Missy as a new stalker. In the classic series, Barbara was almost sexually assaulted every other week. This poor Clara woman just keeps acquiring stalkers.
Oh God, yes. You've got the idea of Mary Poppins fancying Clara stuck in my head now. Moffat writing lesbians, always such a balanced and representative viewpoint.
It's actually somebody pointed out that in Into the Dalek, which is an episode that you haven't seen, James, there was an implication of a female-on-female attraction from a character called Journey Blue. Sort of, it was faintly implied that she found Clara attractive, but it was only one line and they moved on. So that was straight after Deep Breath. So it was sort of like, are we gonna have GSD women every week now? But yeah. Anyway, your goodbye, James.
Yes, may the great holy donkey bless Jamie Matheson. Is that his name?
Yes.
May the great holy donkey bless Jamie Matheson's house for 7 generations and curse the head of Moffat.
Aha. And on that bombshell, I'll say, well, I guess I'll see you again to discuss In the Forest of the Night. Until then, good night, YouTube. Good night, everyone.